This is the last video I'll be making about this goofy ass woman, so let's get started.
New. I got new. I got new. I got new. I got new.
Bro, I have two 12-year-olds and two 15-year-olds. Y'all act like they're babies. Like, I have to sit there and... Shh. I don't have to. They're grown.
You said send the galaxy to know about my baby girl's health when I was in the hospital.
TikTok has an Ash Trevino problem. And if you don't know who Ash Trevino is, I think Cara Davis really puts it so eloquently in her article for Social Work News. Ash Trevino is a 30-something mother of 3 teenage daughters from Texas who gained notoriety in 2023 due to numerous relationships with incarcerated men. Self-proclaimed as an inmate hopper, a derogatory term for people who only date men in prison, Ash Trevino documented the trials and tribulations of dating and occasionally marrying men who were serving hefty prison sentences.
You're my 30th inmate. Did I not tell you that? I swear. I've been with 30 inmates.
Unlike most mom-influencers, Ash Trevino is not a family vlogger whose content is about her children. Instead, Trevino's content seems mainly focused on her messy dating life where her children play background characters for her to argue, ignore, or gaslight.
Mom, I threw a party.
And this, I think, really just sums up like the whole vibe of Ash Trevino so well. Ash has basically made an entire career and an entire bag off of being a arguably awful person. And I think this article was written slightly before the saga, but there was another additional saga which was pretty notable, which is Ash Trevino claiming to date 19-year-old Santos at 36.
Are y'all jealous because I'm in the same room as him or what?
I've already dedicated an entire video to her antics, but for this video, I really wanted to go deeper and analyze her behavior and kind of just see how that's playing out in a wider cultural context. And I've been seeing a wider cultural shift where people are able to accept bad behavior from influencers and creators in exchange for entertainment value, and it's honestly really concerning. I feel like TikTok and these other social media platforms have made exploitation a monetization opportunity. And our wider culture seems very open to this idea. I feel like a lot of people aren't necessarily supporting this behavior, but inadvertently supporting this behavior via hate watching. And I think short form content has somewhat played a role in this. Hear me out, I'm definitely going somewhere with this. An article posted on the Richmond Journal of Law and Technology entitled TikTok Brain, Can We Save Children's Attention Span states, many experts believe TikTok and social media platforms like it are killing children's attention spans. The article continues saying, emerging research suggests that watching short-form videos make it difficult for children to engage in activities that don't offer instant and constant gratification. And while this does focus on children, I really do think it kind of calls out some of the things, I won't say wrong with short-form content, but some of the drawbacks of short-form content. It's not really a stretch to say that me and like most of the people who use TikTok are struggling or noticing maybe a decrease in our attention spans. I personally was probably watching a TikTok while writing this script, so I'm not even trying to be rude or anything, it's just an observation. And as our attention spans are growing shorter due to the proliferation of short-form content, I've definitely noticed creators have to be more and more extreme to get attention. Things like brain rot content, videos with extremely loud sounds, things of that nature have become exceedingly more popular because they drag you in and they keep you watching. It also, I feel like, goes even further than that because now I feel like creators are constantly doing the most to get the most attention. Like the mukbangs, how it used to be, oh, we just got a lot of food. Now it's like you have to get the biggest Chipotle burrito, dip it in cane sauce, and fry it in your car. Like, people have literally gone off the rails, and it's working for them. They're getting more views, more attention, more clout, but conversely, it's led to this culture where there's never, like, a stop to the behavior. It's just increasingly becoming more insane. Well, where does Ash Trevino sit into all of this? We'll start digging into it, but this isn't necessarily an only Ash thing. There are so many pages and content farms which clip her content, making it into easily accessible short-form content that often goes viral, leading to more attention for Ash, but I also did want to talk about how, conversely, long-form content is also being promoted. So while apps like TikTok are pushing short-form content, they're now starting to shift and eke more towards long-form content, not only because long-form content means more watch time, which means you're spending more time on the app, but it also means more revenue for the app and for creators. A great example of TikTok trying to dip into the live and more long-form content game is TikTok Live. TikTok Live is the cane sauce of live streaming on social media. Not only have they been kind of taking some of Twitch's nachos by dipping into things like subscriptions to certain creators where you pay a monthly fee to access certain content, but they've also, I feel like, perfected the gifting option. Gifts on TikTok are not directly bought with money. It's kind of an indirect process in which you buy coins and then use those coins that you bought with your money to buy little emojis, ranging from things like little roses and hearts, which are cheap, like 99 cents, to extremely expensive gifts like the universe, which literally cost around $500 and blast that singular live stream that you're watching to every live stream on TikTok. And this is a profitable venture for not only TikTok, but also creators. TikTok takes a cut of every creator's thing. Like, creators never get their full thing. I just want to emphasize. So TikTok's getting a cut here. But I was kind of like, no way live streaming is that profitable on TikTok. I found one comment on r/TikTok help, and it reads, "My best month, I've made $10,000. $10,000 for live streaming." In that same comment, they were only saying that they live stream 2 to 3 times a day. And because TikTok's taking a cut of that, imagine how much TikTok is also conversely making from that person. So back to Ash and kind of the origins of her fame. Looking at her profile, you wouldn't really think that she's this controversial, crazy creator. All she posts is cute content. What it's really found on is her live streams. And she does sit on live for hours and hours at a time. I mean, I guess they've gotten shorter from when she originally started because now people are just constantly gifting her stuff throughout her lives. And she even later in the video, she even explains how much she's made, which is an insane amount.
Especially.
But amongst these hours of her sitting there doing nothing, talking to the screen, there is some of the most disgusting, abhorrent, crazy behavior, from claiming to date a man in jail who murdered 2 children and saying he's...
Yeah, and you're innocent. He's innocent, you guys. I don't care what y'all say about him. He's innocent.
Innocent, to dating a 19-year-old and talking about how he's seen her new.
You want to know how it smells? As Santos, you know it smells well. No, I got new.
Ash has basically mastered garnering controversy to draw people in. And it's not just Ash. An army of clip farms and tea pages have basically also helped her rise to fame. There's literally so many of these pages with mass followings that just spam Ash Trevino content, Ash Trevino clips. And some of the clips aren't even of Ash Trevino. Some of the clips are of Ash Trevino's kids, for example, which is, we'll get into that later because bringing the kids into this is just very sad. And I think this is the perfect example of hate watching and the consequences of doing so. Let me just say, these pages are in no way favoring Ash. Most of them don't like her. I think it's more so of just like I said, a hate watching thing, but it ends up conversely giving her more attention and more engagement and more money at the end of the day. They're kind of helping her without knowing it. There is a small minority of people who actually seem to engage and watch Ash and, they're leaving nice comments and stuff, but the majority of the internet knows about her in a negative light and dislikes her. Why We're Drawn to Shows We Hate, according to Psychology, written by Dr. Cynthia Vinny, expands on hate watching and kind of explains some of the reasons why. Hate watching is watching something bad for the rage it brings. It evokes real feelings of hate and anger, Dr. Vinny states. Dr. Vinny also lists multiple reasons as to why people hate watch, because it kind of seems contradictory. Why would you watch something that you don't like? Well, here's why. Elitism is kind of referring to this idea where we watch things that make us feel better about ourselves. Think about things like trash TV, shows like Catfish, where, oh, look at this fool get played on live television and bullied. Isn't that so funny? Or TV shows like 1,000-Pound Sisters or My 600-Pound Life, which people watch. People might not necessarily like the content of, but watch possibly for this feeling of oh, I'm doing way better than this person. The other reason that Dr. Vinny gave here that I think is really applying to the situation is morbid curiosity. When we keep watching something we say we hate, we may be exploring the train wreck aspect of people's life choices and outcomes. And both of these ideas are not new, but I do feel like they really draw a lot of views and a lot of traction to Ash Trevino's pages. And the article even goes on to address this in a way, stating, even if the content is hated, if it brings in viewers, people will still produce it. In fact, in some cases, the more controversial, the better. And Vinny also touches further on like how internet communities have become like this breeding ground of hatred for a particular person. While hate watching certainly existed before Instagram and Twitter, social media has increased the sense of community around hate watching. I really think this is extremely relevant when we're talking about Ash because there's this community, subreddits and communities like r/jailhopper have been popping up. Thousands of internet users talking about Ash, sharing clips of Ash, discussing how disgusting she is and how much they hate her. And I'm absolutely not going to sit here and say, oh, I've never hated on a celebrity. Oh, I've never done this. But like, we kind of have to realize that it's kind of counterintuitive in a way, and it kind of just is like a waste of our own energy. Like, I absolutely get disliking somebody, but these celebrities really don't care about our opinions on Twitter. As much as Barbs can hate on Cardi or Bardigan can hate on Nicki Minaj, at the end of the day, both of them are going to fly in their private jets and go home in their mansions and chill. And we're going to be sitting here on the internet looking foolish. It's just giving money to these people because it becomes increasingly difficult in a society in which attention equals money in a lot of ways, especially on social media, to cover people like this. And Ash has really hit the lottery when it comes to, she doesn't care about the hatred. She doesn't really care about the opinions of others. It's just her way or the highway, really, and she can capitalize off of anything. Now, this part of the video, we're going to shift to further talking about how her behavior is not only impacting herself, Ash Trevino, but her behavior is also impacting the lives of her children, which is something that is very disgusting and very concerning. And sadly, I feel like I've been noticing this as more of a thing now. Although like family vlogging has been thoroughly dissected, upwards, downward, backwards, I feel like there's this new rise of content where kids aren't necessarily like the focus of the content, but as Cara Davis and Social Work News put it, that they're kind of like more background characters, kind of there, as attention grabbers. And sadly, kids and the idea that people as unhinged or as crazy or whatever as Ash Trevino could have them become a major draw when it comes to things like this. They become somewhat sort of the spectacle, if you will. And I feel like a fair amount of the insanity and like the draw to Ash Trevino is the fact that she is a mother. Like, people literally cannot believe that Ash Trevino is taking care of children. Ash Trevino recently went on a podcast with a member of the Bop House, which is, a new Gen Z way basically to shame a woman for being promiscuous. But the Bop House is a group of fans creators who come together. Imagine like Team 10, but like fans creators. But due to the controversies that Ash has been through, she even talks about the CPS being called on her during this podcast and seems so casual about it.
Oh, listen. Okay, so when CPS did go, this guy called CPS on me. Okay, I had a CPS case open.
And Cara Davis really brings up a great point in her article for Social Work News, talking about how this is going to be like a new challenge for social workers and people in that field to deal with people like Ash Trevino. For social workers, a new challenge. How do we assess and support families where the evidence is also entertainment consumed by millions of people every day? Whilst Trevino's children aren't the focus of her content, her parenting or lack of them is what draws viewers in. And ultimately it is this controversy that keeps Trevino filming regardless of the consequences. As social media platforms continue to push content regardless of its substance or regardless of who's being exploited for this content, it continues to kind of disregard like the safety of these children and kind of leads to this culture where these creators are kind of using their children for this content. And there's really no denying the fact that Ash Trevino's rise to fame and kind of this whole bit has had a major impact on her kids. Like I was saying earlier, she went on a podcast and she brought her kids with her. Her 2 kids, faces uncensored, all out in the open. Ooh, that's just icky to me because why would you do that? And the kids aren't old enough, I feel, to really, understand the full depth of what's happening here. Like, I get the whirlwind of fame or whatever, but these kids are young. Like, imagine being that young and being thrust into a spotlight, not for a reason of, oh, my acting's good, but for a reason of my mother's seen as this horrible person on the internet and is constantly hated on. Like, that's so sad. And the kids even touch on this, and we're just going to go through like a few clips where the kids discuss things like this and really just, I want to dig deep into the fact that this is having a major impact on her children. I really don't think they should have been on here in the first place, but again, glad they were able to speak and glad the questions kind of focused on them in a way. I feel like some of the questions were actually pretty good. In the first clip we're going to go over, Ash's older daughter describes being like confronted by the fact that her mother is not necessarily a famous figure, but like she's getting asked for pictures, and she describes how it was a scary experience.
Once I got recognized by myself. I was in a store and someone asked me if I was Ash Trevino's daughter, and I said yeah, and she was like, "Can I take a picture with you?"
Oh,
and
weird.
so I took a picture with the girl. She was like my age, so I took a
Right.
picture with her. So yeah,
How does that feel?
it was scary because I was like away from my family because I wasn't with my mom.
Not only is this really sad for, you know, a child to be going through, but it's also just indicative of how this will have an impact on the kids beyond even when they're grown. You know what I mean? Like, I know if Ash Trevino falls off or whatever, it won't be as pronounced, but still, her getting confronted, or not confronted, her being asked for a photo while being alone and invoking feelings of fear is just, that really sucks. Like, I feel like the idea of child celebrities sucks in general, honestly, because I feel like kids can't really understand the impacts and what fame causes upon their lives. Like, it's just not really there for me. Like, I don't think these kids can understand that. But social media fame is kind of almost, I won't say worse in a way because it's not, but I'll say social media is different in that it's forever. Like, people probably could in 10 years recognize her and be like, "Oh, are you Ash Trevino's daughter?" And Ash Trevino is not beloved. She's not beloved for her acting or whatever. Like, Ash Trevino is hated. So being confronted about your mother being a hated figure, that's horrible to deal with. And this second clip is just really sad because her daughter explains how she felt bullied and kind of beaten down by the internet at times.
Like getting clipped, obviously walking into her room. I told her, "Let me know when you're on live." So I don't walk into her room and they clip me and post it because that's happened like twice already. And they zoom in on my face and then people make fun of me.
Okay.
And then there's times where I don't want her to talk about stuff about us because obviously people are gonna clip it and then share it.
This kind of further cements the fact that this is a harmful like experience for her children, in my opinion. Like, the fact that a child is being exposed to this level of bullying. So many kids experience bullying, and I feel like it's been proven to have a negative impact on you like, you know, mentally. But like, I feel like there haven't been enough studies, and it's kind of more of a recent thing, like this idea of cyberbullying, where it's like, it's not someone you could physically like get away from. Imagine scrolling on your For You page as a child and seeing someone bully your appearance or call you ugly and clip the most, I don't know, the most wretched part of your day or life. I would hate that as a adult right now, but like, imagine being in your younger teenage years and facing that and dealing with that in addition to the already hard time that being a teenager kind of is. And the last clip that I'm going to show for now is kind of really one of the most exploitative, disgusting things I've seen from Ash, where the kids describe how Ash Trevino kind of used one of her daughters being sick as a tool to get money and galaxies from people. Really just sick behavior.
You've taken her when she was sick and you're begging for money.
When?
You said send the galaxy to know about my baby girl's health when I was in the hospital.
It's a direct example of what I've been talking about here, where I'm saying that TikTok and like these social media platforms like this are kind of making a direct pathway for people who like to exploit their kids to do so and get money for it. Ash Trevino basically said, if you want to know about how my kid's doing, I want some money. And it's not only Ash Trevino who's doing this. There was this one family channel, I'm going to try to find it, but there's this one family channel where their whole content is about how their kids are constantly hurt and looking for attention about, oh, my kid is hurt, da-da-da-da-da, because it brings in views, it brings in money, it brings in attention. And it's so sad to have that out on the internet, you know what I mean? Like, that your mother basically was like, oh no, I want a Louis bag over our I want you. And all of these things are just so sad in their own unique ways. Hearing that her kids are being directly impacted by her behavior and her actions on the internet. And another thing that I find disturbing about this whole thing is the fact that Ash doesn't really seem fazed. You know what I mean? Like, she's not gagging. She doesn't seem to want to take accountability at all for any of her actions. It's never her fault. It's, well, I'm providing my kids with this life. They're getting Gucci bags and Louis bags, and they're homeschooled. But it's never thinking about this idea that maybe they didn't want to be homeschooled. Maybe the kids wanted to, you know, be able to live a normal life. And there's I know I said this is the last clip I'm covering, but there's this other clip where the kids are kind of discussing, like, would they want to go back to basically being, like, normal? And they're like, yes. And I think this really just exemplifies how so much of the hate watching comes about, because Ash doesn't really care. It's all about clout. It's all about money. It's all about fame. And she seems to be, there doesn't really seem to be any qualms for her to using her kids for this at all. But I cannot imagine being her children and being pushed into this at such a young age. The kids are basically saying, I'm fine with being unknown. Like, they want to go back.
I'd rather go back to my old life. Yeah, we have money, and I mean, I don't like being online publicly. Like,
I understand that.
yeah,
Especially you're so young.
yeah. And growing up, that's why I'm homeschooled too. In the beginning of school, people noticed my mom, and I got like in the cafeteria a lot of stares. And so, if I could, I honestly would go back to my old life, to being a nobody to people, because that's when I was more confident, didn't care how I look. And now, since I'm publicly, I've cared more about how I look, how I go out. And
Truly just heartbreaking. And what's even scarier is that there's these TikTokers who are already kind of dipping into Ash Trevino's nachos and kind of just trying to copy this formula that she's using of, like, oh, my kids are kind of just background props. Like, every time something goes viral or does well on social media, there's going to be like 5 different people trying to replicate that. So that kind of strikes fear in my heart for this generation of kids coming up. For, I don't know, so many different people are going to be impacted by this rise of kind of Ash Trevino content. I feel like we really don't comprehend that as like a wider cultural thing. It's just Ash. It's just Ash. But like, when this content is accepted, when there's no accountability for doing said content, when the only, like, basically the only consequences of her doing this content, I guess it arguably for her is, yes, she's getting negative attention. But if you're the type of person who doesn't care, she doesn't care. She's getting money. And right now, money is just seen as like worshipped. Like, money is the big thing. People don't really care. You know what I mean? People like Ash doesn't really seem to care about the consequences for the other people around her. It is just about the money at the end of the day. It is just about the clout, which is so depressing and so sad. And it's not necessarily new, but I just feel like it's very concerning to see the rise of this content. And I feel like recently we've kind of been not necessarily disillusioned to our power as like a collective. Like, a group of people are pretty powerful. I think the best strategy here is disengagement in any way possible. I'm gonna be honest, this is gonna be my last video on Ash Trevino. I'm not talking about her anymore. I'm tired of her. She's done, she's tired. Not only that, I don't like giving her attention. I like this video more than the first video I did, because the first video was just me reacting to clips of her. This video is more so me discussing her, discussing the negatives about her. But like, I might mention her in passing when I'm talking about, you know, like cultural trends, but I'm not going to focus another video on her because I'm done. I'm tired of her. And I think that we should all kind of disengage from her content, even if we don't like her. I know it's hard because honestly, it's funny or whatever, but like, if I see another Ash Trevino content on my For You page, and TikTok makes it so hard to disengage with like certain creators or certain topics sometimes, because there is no like, you know, block button. You're just getting fed random content constantly, and it's like, okay, I don't want to see this. But I'm gonna hit not interested if I see Ash Trevino. I'm not gonna look at her lives. I'm not gonna like, I've never given her money like directly by a gifting, but like, I'm not even gonna give her money via like TikTok creator program or whatever. At the end of the day, this is the only thing that's going to discourage her from doing this stuff, giving her less attention, giving her less fame, giving her less clout. Because that's basically what she seems to care about. She doesn't seem to really care about the well-being of her children, in my opinion, because the children are kind of discussing like, oh, this is like hard, like you know what I mean? Even in that podcast, the children were discussing like some of the hardships they faced. Ash did not seem to care at all. She was not fazed. If you're still fiending for like Ash Trevino content, for some reason, look at those pages, because she's not getting a cent from those. Look at those pages, look at the clips of those pages, do with that what you will, because I do not want to give this woman a single cent further. That's pretty much all I had to say for today as it pertains to the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed writing the script. Let me know if you like more detailed, nuanced, like kind of not long form, but like more like video essay style content from me. Let me know down below what you want to see me talk about next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.